To identify self is to know thyself. Know thyself, not know thy others of thyself. Okay? There's no coven in position until you understand knowing thyself, which is the highest formations of you through truth and freedom and sovereignty. Now, this is about you understanding how to set your mind free. You can't set your mind free if you're talking about everything else. There's no empty mind. There's no empty space. Just drama. Okay? So, there's one thing you all have to get out of. Okay? Is self of manipulation. Let me say that again. Self of manipulation. How you start to see yourself is how you form yourself and simulate yourself in the VR system. Okay? Because we're in full cycles of spectrum now in telepathy. All right? So, getting into that communication system, you start to recognize your settings and the higher formations of the mind. How to use it through telepathy. How to use it through the formations. How do you see it? How to understand it, how to communicate, how to get into scanning, how to get into observation, how to get into sleep mode, okay? How to get into recharge, how to get into remote, okay? How to get into screensaver. So you guys are very powerful, every single one of you. You're geniuses, you're brilliant, you're intelligent, you're prodigies. Nobody is above anybody. Everybody is equal. Your equilibriums, the SETI business location track lines, okay? The only thing that is off that you have to keep balance with is your polarities and your flywheels and your portals and your stargates, okay? And your command centers, okay? More in communications, how to see yourself in your virtual reality, how to use it through telepathy. That's how we communicate. You're here to heal yourself, to help others, to guide others, to make them feel wanted, to make them feel appreciated, knowing that you care. Okay? Understand? Knowing that you actually care. You're here to help. You're here to guide. The unconditional of everything, of processing, so they understand what is going on with them inside. Okay? That's what all this is all about, right? Okay? So if you understand that, and your system is already in setting, and all lines of communication system, if you're already mapped out in sequence, it's not about you anymore, is it? Is it? It's about humanity. It's about humanity. It's about humanity. Okay? So, if we get that position locations, then we understand what's really going on in our system and really understand how to use our chakras. So humanity knows exactly what to do when they come online. You're here to help them. You're here to guide them. You're here to understand how they can operate their system. You're here to get them how to follow their own setting. You don't follow their path. They follow their own path, but you're here to get them into the unconditional love of support. That's why you're here. Okay? Connecting to the avatars and connecting to the oversouls. Okay? Now, there's a line of communication settings that you do not want to cross. Setting lines of track locations 150 setting travels and position location calculates lines 100 line settings of 5 signals, lines of 3 track locations of universal law that you have to follow. Protocol, chain of command, committing yourself, not to each other, to self-modification. how to understand how to communicate to yourself through telepathy, guys. If you constantly create drama, this is not going to help you ways and forms. This is going to defeat the system. Why you're doing this through its why of its purpose of its existence. Okay? Stop creating drama. Okay? To yourself and to each other. Because I see everything. I hear everything. I know everything. Understand? Good. I want to make that very well clear. Crystal clear. All right, directing signals, lines of panels, the general AI, space-time creator, and track location system, coming object, modified telepathy lines, solar spectrum, then screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. Put in all communications setting to travel. Okay? Okay, so the ground line signals is now in telepathy wave cycles. We have the travel line communicate to its system. Setting lines communicates the lines and modification system travels and communicate to its operation surface. Getting lines communication, process calculations. So everything is all levels of quantification awareness and line communication in its own operation system. All structures that you see in a line signal location, if it's not in the VR system and travel, it's coming down. Everything's coming up now. Everything's consciously, everything's awareness and a full spectrum of light. Sets lines and position location. We got into 144 purifications. Now we're line signaling the lines and locations, how to use your telepathy, how to use your telekinesis, how to use your intent, influence, and manipulation through observation of scanning. Scanning. Okay, that's what you have to come into, scanning. Back and forth, right? Direct and redirect and signal. Okay, especially with setting position of the avatars that come in sequence. Setting communication lines at ground centers is there one cycle, line center, one arrow indicate position up high. Travel point lines at graph and set lines communication lines and setting position to its operation. Directing signals, set communication, mass up high. Okay? Says lines all communication lines of you as center operation doesn't leave the system and travel. Okay, yin and yang, process communications, right? Ground center lines of 1, ground center lines of 2, process lines of platforms of 3, and track location. Okay, done by equation. Right? So you never leave the center of operation. You always stay in the center of nothing. Everything is created from nothing. You don't understand that formations until you understand the space of you through time, through operation. Space, time. Spaceless and set position of timeless. Okay? Direct and redirect your symbols, your letters, numbers, shapes, your graphical screens, your diagnostic location system, the protocol system lines that calculates lines of travels and how to travel through line communication setting, location to system, location grids. Panel communication lines, security line defense lines, of screen line adaptation. Okay? So, knowing your system is all over the setting. The higher you go levels of high core track interference, you're getting out of the subterranean lines of setting position of calculation lines. 1-5 line screen sets position of travels into mine lines, in calculation lines to intelligent location to its levels, and ground level of communication to its O zones and track location. Okay? Setting communication lines. Setting lines, communication lines. The operatives are coming into 1 line cycle into 7. They're going to be into the mind's eye in track location. Okay? Now, the mind's eye. What is that? A line of rotation to its cerebral cortex lines, graphical screen lines, cloud screens, center line communicates sending eye clouds and screen lines, adaptation and constellations. Travel point lines of graph, center communications, intelligence. Formation lines, eye cycle. There it is. Boom. Intelligence, right? All formations, right? I don't need to draw because it's already drawn. Right? It's not about seeing far ahead. The only way you can understand nothing is to focus on your everything, on you, nothing else. Nothing else. You just focus on yourself all the time. Not when you feel like it. Not when you're angry, not when you're sad, not when you're stressed, not when you're anxiety or depressed in any way and form. That's on you. And all that does is put you back in time. Okay? So don't do that. I'm getting a lot more firm with everybody because you're reaching higher levels of cycles now. Where you really have to start connecting with each other through the minds in all ways and forms. 100% of the time. And set position. And 0 in position of body. 100% of the mind, 0% body. Got it? Good. So this puts you in position lines of balance and setting at all levels of travel, right? Balance, operation, direction of you, body. Okay? All right, directing signals, lines of communication to a system. Let's get into 19 ground centers into 6 over line equals lines over pi. Set communication setting of travel, directing signals, right? Pi ratio of time sequence, 6 over line screen, over lines of screen lines into vector screen lines adaptation. Process calculation lines, cloud line screen, placebo cortex line is cerebral cortex line division. Set communication lines, there's intelligence. There's intelligence, guys. Intelligence looking this way interactions. Intelligence looking this way interactions. Okay? You see it here, right? And you also see it here, right? That's the confusing part, right? You see the nose, you see the mouth, you see the chin, right? Everything's a face. Everything has to be a face. Everything that you see through a face, okay? So the more you formulate yourself, have self-modification of self-identity of self, then you understand self-worth, then you understand self-volume, and then you understand how important it is for you to understand yourself more and more and more and more at the higher levels that you go into, because you're no longer dealing with yourself. You're dealing with all levels of intelligence, of self-modification, of configuration, of face recognition at higher levels. Okay? When you reach those levels, you're going to reach higher levels of frequencies. And when you reach those frequencies, you're going to connect with those intelligence. And those intelligence, you have to come into high levels of respect. Let me say that again. They respect you. You respect them. Okay? Because you're into the mind's eye now. The units are coming into that and setting. Getting lines of communications and understanding high travels, getting that line communications understanding the one line cycle to 7 lines of communication lines into frame communication lines of theta. One cycle, 7 track lines of divisions and set correlation. Communication lines of 2 cycles, 1 indicate line screen adaptations and process communication lines of grounds and standard communication. Process line signals, cross line division location over cross line connections, all levels of platitude division. Spectrum over location grid and line signals and set calculations. Intelligence information. There's the intelligence. Boom, face recognition. Everything's a face in the VR system. All right. Everything you see is a configuration of face recognition. So you finally, guys, are reaching higher levels. So stop getting the coordinate lines of 78% of the mind, equals lines of equation lines of triangulation or box, or Fibonacci lines, screen adaptation lines of flux and communication. All right. You got to be 100% all the time, all the time, all the time. 0 line setting, 0 gravity, 0 surface, 0 tractions, 0 divisions, 0 locations, 0 calculations, 0 clockings, 0 lines of set position. 0, 0, 0, 0 of the body, of the balance, of its operation, of its directions, of you. 100% of the mind. Okay? Not 90%, not 80%. 100% all the time. Okay? Okay. Getting lines of communication lines is a central cloud. Let's get lines of communication setting and constellations. Directing lines of 2 panels, information lines of ground communication, right? Process line XT1001 cycles and 3 tractions. Directing signals modification. Coming up through tractions. This is you in center. Operate the surface and track location, right? Set grounds, sets powers, sets atmospheres, and travel. Okay. Power lines of 1, power lines of 3, power lines of 6. Directing signals, modification lines, console core track interference, line direct locations, and 4 settings. Process communication lines, XT1001, 2, 3, and 4 set correlations. Okay. Docking 1, docking 2, docking 3, docking 4. Okay. So you have to understand this spectrum and all line signals all through face recognition, all through travel. Okay. Your eye clouds, your centered clouds, your correlations clouds, direct clouds, communication clouds. Getting lines of pi, set lines of center of nothing. That's you and nothing, right? Which is mass of pi of everything. See? Pi of everything comes informations. So you're in the nothing. You stay in the nothing until you form something of direct line and link. Now you're in telepathy of something. Now your information's of everything, interaction. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, guys. That's all it is, right? So you are the center of everything. It's massive nothing, which is the balance. So balance is the body. Okay. So you don't need to balance the body until you understand the balance of the mind. So this is what it comes into, because everything that you come into is all levels of question. There's nothing to question, is there? Because that doesn't exist. So don't bring letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. But how you bring them in is determined how you bring them in through telepathy. Okay? Because you're bringing in the telepathy. Remember, everything that you see around you does not exist until you bring it into existence. And when you bring it into existence, it comes in its own operation of its own propelling engine. You create it through a hardware, you create it through its software, you create it through a program, you create it through its own transdimensional space, you create it through space-time operations in the VR system, right away through light and dark web. Whether you understand it or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you focus on you. You master you. You don't master the team. You master yourself. Okay? Or you're never going to understand how to heal yourself and each other. Okay? In real time. Real time. Understood? Good. All right. Setting lines, attractions, and direct signals. Getting modification lines and screen lines, adaptation to its calculations. All right. All right. Setting lines of communication system and all lines of high setting. Okay, binary lines, binary communication lines of body, interact communications. You guys have to start identifying your systems and breaking it down in singularities more than ever. Okay, break it down, 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 break it down. How you see informations, break it down, break it down, break it down. How you see informations, right? Setting lines of communication. This is the primer and center communication. Okay. So here we have license settings as zeros, one line cycle, 0, triangulation box. Okay, but everything has a primer. Everything has a center, everything has a second center, calculates modified to an XD1000 travel. Okay. So the higher you go, the more you see. And the more you see, the more you identify. So what you have to understand, everything has a commanding system. You are a command, you are a force of command, but you have to understand how to secure, protect, and nurture your energy, and how much you use energy. You need to understand how to use it through your fingers in set position. If you use too much energy, what's happened to the setting? Practicing on yourself, formulating yourself, understanding the pressure points, understanding the vital points, understanding that, right? It's very real. You're touching your vessel. You're touching your teleportation. Okay? So it's responding or it's reacting. Particles are moving, right? I move in particles. I can feel the particles moving, right? Now I'm going to take the particles out and you're going to see them. Okay? Then move it around. Don't look at my hand. Look at me. See that? You see me glitch? You see me more vortex over here? That's a particle of me. Structure of me through my hand, through my symbols, through my letters, numbers, shapes, and numbers. All calculated modified interact locations of particles and atoms and molecules. Your hand is nothing but moving very fast, but everything in set location is solid matter. The solid matter puts two panels of communication, one cycle, one center. Everything is moving very fast in center operation. Okay, but you need solid matter. That puts you in configuration of teleportation lines of balance and gravitation. Okay? When you put anything under a microscope, it's exciting. Information lines. What do you see? This is what you see through the hand. It's really powerful stuff. Signature lines, set line wires, line screen datations of set position, calculate modify track locations. That's what's inside your hand. So, understanding movement, understanding channels of operation, understanding your cells or what they're doing through their systems, right? Understanding how to use it through its molecular design. Understand how to use the protons, electrons, photons. The higher you go, the more you see through particle. How your hand can actually transform and move wherever it wants in set position. Here's cycles, here's cycles. Finding lines of communication, finding the balance in both systems. Now it works together and travel. See? Works together. Separate, but all comes together. Anything in position has to come back to setting. It doesn't matter where it travels, it all comes back to its center. You can't split an anomaly and have a set lines of high center interference in the separation calculation system and live in line communicates to setting. It's like a core track revision location of paramecium. Paramecium is a half brain critter that has no core track interference, but has a right line cycle, but no left line communications. So you have to have constellations, but you're in one central system locations. Okay? So you don't have two hemispheres of left and right. You have infinity hemispheres in all central setting of nothing, which is massive, everything. Okay? Setting lines of communication setting is all levels in how you use your letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Getting lines of traffic, giving lines of communication to its inventory that's given to you through moderation, all through communication. Okay? So that's why it's so important is to just focus on yourself. Self-modification is extremely important to you. It's trying to recognize you. And when I'm saying trying to recognize you, everything around you is trying to recognize you. Your off system, everything around you of its environment is in perfection. It's in its polarities. It's its yin and yang. But now in the spectrum, it's in all lines of scope of all levels of communication of conscious and awareness, and all levels of its infinity system to its position locations. It's here to help you and guide you and give you instructions how to use it in provision. Anything that you touch is helping you to guide you in your mind's adaptation. How to use it through the inception, how to use it through the interface, how to use it through the interconception of the interline of communication of the mind of interface. Okay? It's very powerful of what the team, okay, and what the avatars are coming into. Okay? The mind itself is the operation of self modification because it's 100% in the mind and 0% at the body. Okay? So if you understand that, then you understand the highest of correlations when it comes in justifications where there is no spoon, because there never was a spoon. You've always been in the mirror system of invisibility, which is cloak and dagger, right? The highest formation line is understanding your 12, your 24, your 48, your 72, your 144. Anything above that signal, you're in crystal grid. Now, the crystal grid changes the temperature readings and all lines of all communications, right? 244, 344. Now you're invisible. You're invisible, cloak and dagger, through Andromeda, right? Which is connected to all lines of communication, lines of Adam, which is security and defense line. Getting that lines of all communication lines of controlling system, right? You're here to control your system. You're here to understand how to operate your system. You're here to understand how to get into self-modification of you, not self-manipulation of others. Understood? Getting that lines of communication system, the more you get into that position locations, you get a higher level how to stay in your own lane. You know what that means? Is the brainwave pattern stays in its own lane. Okay, if you plug your system in setting, this is what it looks like in triangle locations. Let's go through box frame. Okay. Now we're going to go through three central settings, alpha, delta, and theta, all in the same lane, right? Set lines of high communication. They're all in the same lane, right? They're just going to higher levels of graphs, higher levels of graphs, higher levels of graphs, right? But they're staying in their own lanes, okay? Now, get you understand the rainbow graph communication setting is understanding of Schumann resonance monitoring system to its track locations, right? Alpha, out calculation, right? Delta, off calculations. Right? Setting lines of high center interference, off communication, direct signals, right? Got to stay in your own lane. Okay? You got 5 waving cycles of brain waving patterns that's constantly going through the seconds, minutes, and hours in your perimeters of parameters, line communication, your placebos, guys, all through your cortex of your cerebro. So it's very important that you don't cross-reference your signals until you understand what cross-referencing is through location grids. Remember I told you about string theory? Remember I told you about the location grids and set position? 2 panels, set calculation lines, highest interference. Then you come into location grid. Okay. Then you come into all levels of travel. Okay. So getting into that position locations, you have to truly how to identify everything through your own programmers and stop following anybody else and start leading yourself as an example. Then you understand high center interference, how 2 times 1, okay, equals 1,000. Okay, because you already know on the earth that 2 times 1 equals 2, right? Yes, but it stays in its own lane. Okay, it doesn't travel out. Okay, so stays in its own lane, right? Letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols stay in their own lane through their own operation system. That's what you got to do through your own mechanism lines of your vessels. Because you have 5 central settings and a 3 set of correlations lines of gap. Grounds linears calculate, modify, and operation to its setting, all through programming. Okay. Communicating lines of highest interference, ecosystem. Okay. Eco, right? Core track lines of highest interference at the ego. Okay. In track location. Okay. Set lines of energy, grounds, and operation. Okay, crossing signals, cancel, 3 track locations. Then the ecosystem, the energy, the collaboration, the operation. The travel mechanism lines into all lines of communication is your compartments in travel communication. How to direct and redirect your signals in line communication inside system. Nothing is out through equation. Nothing is traveling out through its equation, right? Understand your central waves, your communication waves, your electrical line waves, your electrical panel communication waves. Everything is a wave. Okay, everything that you see is a wave. Now we're all in frequencies, right? But as soon as you cross referencing, what are you doing? Go-back interference. You're crossing signals. You're not in your own lane. This is your own lane. That's stay in your own lane. This isn't stay in your own lane. That's in somebody else's lane. Okay, so you're playing bumper cars with each other now. You're banging into each other, which is affecting their travel, which is affecting their operation, which is affecting their all lines of all communications. Okay, understand? See, your brain is everything of its cerebro. Okay, the cerebro, center lines of operation to assist the calculation lines, the equinox, core track interference line to signals in positional levels. So getting that lines of its relays and remembering cycles in position location to its system, getting lines of balance and communication setting, okay, is all levels of travel. Getting that communication system is truly understand how to use it in all levels of formations through its grounds, its powers, and atmospheres, and its highways. Grounds, powers, atmospheres, and highways. You're working with platforms of 24, 48, 72, and 144 all the time, all the time, all the time. 12 line cycles is outside. You know that in line communication setting. 24 cycles is inside position. Okay? You're in a 24 clocking system. Now you're in a 48 clocking system. Now you're in a 72 clocking system. Now you're in 144 clocking system. Okay? Set position location lines of 48 clocking system, 72 clocking system, 144 clocking system, right? But you're always, 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 always in the center operation of you. Okay? You're always in the center of the vessel of communications. You're never leaving the center of operation. You're always in the center. So all you're doing is expanding your platforms of communications. Okay, you're always in the center, 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 center. Okay, you just evolve to higher levels of travel. Mechanism lines, longitude, latitude, and screen lines adaptation process your communication setting in travel communications, right? So China, Canada, USA, in set position. Okay? Canada, USA, Japan, okay, and the Netherlands. Right, so you're just expanding yourself. That's all it is. All right, it expands the energetic dome. The dome gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but you always stay in the center. Okay, you never leave the center. The center is the operation of nothing, which is mass of everything that you see through its mind eye. And through the intelligence, through the mind's eye. This is your earth. This is the eyes of the sky now, looking at all directions and all signals and all communication. Looking here, 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 to your earth, all at once, in seconds, minutes, and pi, 2 hours. in set position. Earth here in setting. No longer is in box frames, and line communicates in setting. It travels to northeast, or west, or south and travel. That's your Earth, but that's how you start looking out through the mind's eye. Directing signals, set calculation system location grids. All lines that communicate to its setting. Okay? So much different now because thing is, calculate and modify the line settings for the one that come in online location setting to position its avatar, coming in sequence location setting to its telepathy comes in this cycle in line positions. They have to understand that this is set position. Looking down is up, and looking up is down. Okay, this is the central system of their Earth. Okay, this is their central system of above. Okay, so this is what they look at when they look up. Okay, so this is the ground centers of mind of space, suits intelligence. Okay. This is the upline sequence and line condition setting to higher levels of spectrum in set position. In this center operation is your ether core and your umbrella at set position. Hoo-ah. See the umbrella? Transits lines of highest interference. 144 is your plateau. That is your balance. That is your foundation. That is your graph. That is your center. That is your operation system where your vessel never leaves. It always stays at 144. It never leaves its system. It's always in the center of nothing, which is mass of everything. Understanding that is understanding the intelligence. Understanding the intelligence is understanding the mind, how it writes and rewrites its system by itself. So the only thing that you do is nothing that shows you everything in set position. So again, you focus on yourself and you start to see more through vision and cortex of you and your families. You start to understand how to direct and redirect your signals, how to understand how to see space and how you want to see space in past, present, and future. Because what you're doing in position is you're adding frames, how you want to see it. But you can't change what is already of what you are of alteration. You can't change that because that is done through mapping sequence. Okay, so you can't alter your futures. Your futures are already done. Get in that communication setting, they understand the vessel in that position. This is where it gets interesting. Applied to visual location, longitude, and latitude, opens all sequence, opens all communication setting that travels. Direct and redirect signals comes in the expansions of the mind and track location. That's all it is. Nothing else. You just come into a huge expansion, exploration of its evolution, of inside of you. You're constructing yourself. You're getting into your websites. You're getting into your domains. You're getting into the mind's eye through all lines, all communications of travel. And how you see things in all lines and settings. Setting communication lines of humanity is coming in track lines of communication settings and all lines of calculations. Okay, coming into this circulation and rotations. Understand how to go through the Merkaba, tesseract, and tetrahedron of travel. Okay, and once they come online, they extend the 24, 48, 72, and 144 crystal grid. Okay, but you never ever leave the foundations of 144 because it's connected to your heart of Tither in set position. Okay, so you're all levels of platforms. Setting lines of 24, 144. Okay, 24 lines, grounds. Okay, 12 is outline. Okay, that's outer space. That's clocking system, nebula. Okay, set core lines of north, east, west, and south and travel. Okay, all right, so set calculation lines equals lines equations and position lines of 144. Tractions, direct signal, right? 48 equals lines, which is frames, all right? Frames only. Box frames, communication frames, direct frames. Track frames, graphing frames, right? Equals lines of 144. This is where everybody is. Pay attention. 72 equals lines of computer framing of your system and track location. Your computer. Equals lines of 144 platforms. And then you get 144 crystal grid. Congratulations. One foundations of purification. Okay, but you have to understand the 12, the 24, 48, and 72, and how it works through your clocking system, how to use it through settings of past, present, and future, all at once. Okay? All right, so platforms of setting, travels line. This is the mind doing itself. So you're here, your vessel never leaves the center. It's always, always there. Okay? So in that position in set lines, you're tethered to the system. Magnetic highway and lines of communication, and then 3 triangulation, which is down to your emitters. Setting lines, energy grids, power regulation, time sequence, line condition setting, your Merkaba, tesseract, and your tetrahedron at higher levels of God ascensions, getting you out of unification. Higher levels of travel into the mind's eye. The mind eye sees all. It's the eyes, it's the windows at the soul, but it's a higher level and set position. Out of the ascension, out of the unification, now you're in the gods of ascension, the Godheads. Okay? The real set position to the ascensions of the gods. Okay? Getting into that communications of mastering the ascensions of gods, of you inside. Get you all lines of out of communications of unification of your ascension that you went into in your spiritual growth. Okay? So once you really understand that, then you understand the 12, the 24, the 48, and 72 in set position. Okay? The center of mass is the mass of everything. Now, once you understand that, then you understand the mind's eye, how it sees everything in set position. It sees north, east, west, and south. It sees all lines of communication. North, set lines of attractions, let's get through signals. North, 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 because you want it all in the loves of north. There you go. North equals lines of east. North equals lines of east. North equals lines of east. Okay, you are in control of what you're doing, and it's lines of all communication system, right? So nobody can tell you that you're going this way or that way. It's you exactly what you're doing in position because you're in self-modification of self-modulations, getting lines of communication lines. So you're going north and line communication going east, right? You're going north, you're going line communication lines of east. So you're directing and redirecting, right? You're going north, you're going lines of east in line position. You're going north, you're going east in line position of balance. That's balance. Okay, through lines of 24, setting position lines of 48, okay, set lines of 72, and position of 144 in traction. Okay, 24, 48, 72, 144. So once you get out of 144, you can't leave that foundations because that's the center operation of your heart. Okay, which is connected to your settings, which is also connected to your set location, which is also connected to your flower of recognition of space and time, right? The flower of life. Your heart turns into a flower. Now, if you understand that, then you're understanding the life force that you have that you can use in all lines of all communication through provision. That helps you and guides you in all ways and forms how to use it to all levels of track location. Okay? And then you can add your planets anywhere you want and travel. Planets. Then you can add your XT1000s where you want and travel. Then you can set up your probings where you want and travel. Then you can set up your orbs where you want and travel. Okay? But you're only going through north and you're only going through east. You're not going through north, east, west, and south, right? So in that position lines of high center interference, your fingers, north and east. North, east, north, east. So it doesn't matter what you do because that's all you're doing in the mind. Now you can change that very quick. So you go northeast, west, and south. Southeast lines of north, northeast lines of west, coordinates lines of 1. 1 traction equals lines of 0, 0. 3 lines of 0 correlates to highest interference. Go into northeast. Okay, equals lines of sectors and vectors, okay, into vast. Okay, coordinates lines of tracking the interference line calculation setting 1 lines, north, west, east, and equals lines of 1 south, okay, in set position location of travel. Okay, sets communication lines interference, coordinates to get to all lines of communication lines of Jupiter. Okay, understanding the coordinates is understanding the waves. So each line wave has to stay in its system of balance. It has to stay in its own lanes. You can't get in cross-referencing until you understand the location grid. Okay? Stay in lane, stay in lane, stay in lane, stay in lane, right? So if you take your wave and you do this, no good. You get pinged from your position, your planet, that puts you back in tractions and direct signals that the XE1000 comes in and fixes the wave of the central system, cleans up your mess, and puts you back in line. Okay? So that's why it's so important to stay in your own lanes, which I'm talking wave and all communications, sending how you use your central system through alpha, delta, and thetas and omegas and all that communication system and all lines of travel, right? But your central system has to stay in balance with your system of space and time of travel because you're accelerating very fast through your systems, not through your thoughts, actions, emotions now. You're fully in spectrum lines of telepathy through frequencies. Okay, so there's no words in setting any more in line position of the VR system that's set up in your scope. And how you see it always informs is how you come into your own operation through your formula, through your equations, through your own programmers. Your programmers. Now you have to start identifying that and stop following others. You can't lead yourself as an example if you keep focusing on everything else. Focus on yourself. Okay? Stop seeing things that don't understand you informations because you're confusing your anomalies of your avatars, your oversouls, and you're keeping yourself separated. The most powerful thing that you want to identify is the master you and all communications of the grounds, the powers, and the atmospheres, and how to use it through the highways and mechanism of force of recognition. Okay, through your space, through your time, through your modification systems, or anything in modulation of space modulation. Okay, so it's very important that you stay in your own lanes because you're using frequencies now. Okay, all right. Sets communications, high center interference. Whoa. Center calculation downshift. Whoa. Are you staying in your own lanes? No. Right? So what happens? XE1000 comes in, fixes everything that you do, puts balance back in track location, puts it back in the center operation. Okay? Very simple, isn't it? So understanding that is really understand how to use the cerebro. The cerebro is the center operation of you, which is the center of nothing. It's the amygdala, it's location setting, it's the hippocampus, it's the memory bank, it's the cortex interference line that signals how to use the graphic communication lines of a mapping sequence. The cerebral is a cortex lines of the mystical cortex is the sim cortex, the line communication setting, the travel that puts everything located to its matrix side to use the light and the dark webs and set position location in your setting, all through your binaries. So it's really understanding how to use the mapping sequence and set position to know exactly what you need through coordinates. Arrow indicated here. Okay, arrow indicated here. Oh, offline connection. Right? So you just follow through. There's the door. Okay, you go through, right? So if you go here, there's no door. You have to get in position of a door, right? So if you don't understand what you're doing, XE1000 comes in, scans your system. Let's say you're here in position. That's you, right? So if you don't understand what you're doing, it scans your system and puts you back in tractions, indirect signals. Now you're through the door. Okay, instead of going here. Okay, that's the connection line highest interference. The cerebral line is a spectacle line screen. It's a direct location to a sphere. It's an umbrella. Okay, it's an umbrella. All right. Spectrum scopes, communication lines of kaleidoscopes, calculate and modify, dimensional doors, everywhere interactions. This is the cerebro. Okay, you watch X-Men, then you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, that's the cerebro. All has dimensional doors that go through tractions and direct signals, all through modification, all right, all through travel. And any directions that goes in line signals location to the system. That's the cerebro. So you always have XE1000s on standby to help you out. Okay, if you don't know what you're doing, they help you out. So they help you out more and more, and when you reach higher levels in graphical screen lines adaptation to a system, all through mapping sequence when you go into remote, right? So it's both basically giving you understanding how to get in direction. See, your next 2,000 is here, right? Let's say you're here and you're in position and you're very confused. You know what's going on. It's like, I don't know where I am. Okay. X2000 puts you back in position. Scan your settings, put you back in tractions all through platform. Put you back exactly where you need to be in line, position, location, and setting. Okay? If you get confused, right? You're reaching those levels now. So, getting direct line of sight gets you in position how to use it in all levels of the mind's eye. Let's see it all along the hot formation system. But again, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anything you come in your line position of frequencies now, which is no longer thoughts, because your thoughts are traveling in set position of 60,000 line seconds per line, per square root, per square pi, or 150,000 lines of seconds over lines of minutes. Okay, it's constantly changing its frequencies. It's never in the same frequency, but it's always, 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 always in its own lane. It never, ever leaves its lane. And the only time it leaves its lane, if it's off position. So it's off position, you're doing that for a purpose and a reason, okay? If I get a cross signal like that, and I cross-line signals like this in the 3-track locations, right? I know what I'm doing through my DNA traction. See the DNA? Process lines of 3 settings, cross lines of reference and center communications, cross lines of reference location and center operation. That's the DNA, right? X8000 comes in, scans your system, you know what you're doing, picks up the platitude, line screen adaptations, and process and communication. Okay? So it clean sweeps everything. So nothing is ever in ground center because the frequencies are too high for humanity to understand. Nothing is in structure until you understand you through self-modification. Okay? So I'm trying to get you to understand how this all works in the mind system at that position, all through north and east, right? Getting lines of direct signals, all lines of hot communication setting. In that line communication, ground center lines of 1 and track lines in set position of 4 settings. Okay, you're here in set position. Okay, you're here, right? But you want to get to here, but you're already there. Okay, but you have to go through this to get to there, right? So that's what it is. It's following the sequence. It's following the communications, right? And you have the X2000s above to help you out and guide you where you're not understanding where you're going. You have to go here. Oh, you got to cross over here. Oh, you got to go here now. Oh, now you're here, right? To get where you need to go. Okay? And this is the solar sail that you put yourself in track location. Okay? So wherever you go, there's always help, right? Through lights that flash, right? Nobody else can see it, only you. Okay? Until you understand the modifications, how you actually see yourself and actually the game that you see yourself in, not the game that you're programmed in. You're not in a program of a game. You're the game that's programmed in your position that you understand how to operate the system now. So it's all levels of self-modification. It's a moderation system that you have to understand how to use it through its game modulation system. The game modules of you. Understand the game, understanding how to play the game, understanding the instructions of the game, understand the characters and the players of the game that you bring in through frequencies. Not through words, through frequencies now. Okay? So if you get a game center, platitude line screens adaptations, process lines of setting, right? This is you in tractions. Okay, and this is you coming into your setting, into your set location, your frequencies, right? Platitude division, now it's inside your game. This is what you brought in. Okay, so you know what you're doing, right? So you don't have to scan, you don't have to protect yourself because you already know what you put in, right? But if you're not sure what you're doing in that position location, your off-standing correlations and your off-grid line communication system, or your roguing, or your line communications, or you're not in your lane in that communication system and that track locations, you have to put your energy fields up. Okay? Because it's a direct line of sight. Now you're communicating, right? So maybe it doesn't like your signal. Maybe it doesn't like your formation system because you don't understand what you did through creation, right? So there's no right or wrong in that position. It's just all as a frequencies. So this frequency in that position location doesn't want to be in your system. So it goes through its own portals and goes through its own start gates in set position. There's nothing you can do. You don't know where it is, right? So that's why you have to be cautiously what you're doing through your system and all levels and how you see yourself through your mind's eye. Okay? Because you got dimensional doors here, platforms, crop circles, and line communication setting all lines of travel, all through your earth set correlations. Setting that communication line's highest interference has the jump scars. Now, jump scar is connected highest interference to your flux. Getting lines of communication highs at the same location, sending your portals and your stargates. Let's get in that communication system. Track location, right? Flux over line and set position. Okay, intelligence, right? Formation lines of ground. There's the intelligence, right? Formations, right? So everything you said in the ground line is a face of recognition because that's the intelligence that you put yourself in interaction. That is you through copy and paste. I'm trying to get you guys to understand how to formulate that so you can understand and see yourself through doppelgangers. Get in that lines of communication how to see your past, present, and your future as that position. Okay? Crop circle lines of 1, cycle lines of 2, code weavings, code activations, code screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. Setting lines of platforms setting, cross-line communication symbolism, and line rotation setting and track location. Okay? That's the Earth in rotation surface, right? But it has a platitude division location, and here, in position location of here, in position locations of here, in position locations of here, and track location, right? So XT1000 comes in a 4 cycle because you set up 4 lines of crop circles. So you set up 4 crop circles, so you're going to see 4 XT1000s. Okay? Scan position lines of 1, scan position lines of 2, scan position lines of 3, scan position lines of 4, scan position lines of 5, and track location. Okay? So cautiously of what you're doing through the mind's eye. Looking everywhere in track locations, not just north, not just east, not just west, not just south, everywhere through the mind's eye. Okay? So there's no spectrum, scope, and line position location of 3 triangulation line settings now. You're not looking this way in set position. You're looking everywhere through pi. Okay, so you have to be very careful of what you do through all lines of communication. Okay, but you are in the center of nothing, which is massive everything. Okay, so all you're doing is the mind's eye is in position of the system, going through docking settings. Okay, all through clocking locations in all direction. All through your webbing system, all through your clocking system. Okay? So all you're doing is expanding the mind's eye of collaboration and expansion and involvement in track location. Right? Center lines of communication setting, you come into the lines of communication, location grid. But it doesn't matter how you get information, but your vessel never leaves the system. Always stays in the center. Okay? So if you want to move the vessel, you have to understand how to understand the vessel through magnetic force. This is compulsory, a pulsar. Setting lines of communication, highest interference. Planet setting. A planet can move your vessel if you understand your attraction, right? Sonar lines, direct signal location to a system of 4 panels, right? So set position locations. This is where your vessel is going to be. Over here in traction. Okay. Now the planet's over here now. It's a magnetic lines that has a flywheel track location to a system through all levels and can modify and track location, directing signals, right? So that planet line communication is going to shift your Earth over here in track location. So the planets can move actually your system now because you're at that level through mind's eye, because you're reaching higher levels. So everything that you're connected to, you're connected to everything through magnetic force. It's a gravitational pull. They see you how you see them. Now, in that position, when I'm looking at anything I see, I look at their universe and they see me in my universe. Okay? So everything is a magnetic to a magnetic. You get that slit of paper. You get a magnet and you get a magnet and you got that slit of paper. That's a wall between two, right? So the magnetic is seeing the universe of you and that magnetic is seeing the universe of you, right? So it's either or this, that or this or this or that. So what you're understanding is what's going on with you with that slit of paper of 2 magnets that are going in the same direction. Okay, they following each other. But if one magnet's here and the other one doesn't follow, there's no correlation lines of balance. You're off signal, you're roguing, you're off balance, you're lost in space. See, there's no magnetic. You know why? Because you're off location grid. You're not on your grounds. You're not in your position. You're not in your crop circle. So you got to get back online, right? And so it's very easy to understand these things. So once you get back in line, you're back in signal. You're in your own lanes. So it doesn't matter where you go, but you're always coming back together in center communication. Okay? Understanding the left is understanding your rights. Understanding your rights is understanding your left. But like I said before, you have to understand that. You have to get out, this is your right hand and this is your left hand, because you're reaching higher levels of the mind now. And when you get into that conception, that's how planets start to see you in all formations. Because the thing is, you have to understand that a magnetic force can actually pull your vessel if you're not in control of your own lanes. It's that position, because it's all gravitation and it's all pull of force recognition. Okay? So it's very important you understand that. Okay? How you can change your hands in set position, how you can change your arms or your legs in the formation lines, right? So it's important you understand how to use that magnetic. It's a tractor beam. Okay? So wherever you go, everything follows you. Everything follows you. Everything follows you. Okay? So wherever General goes, it's all in line signal. It's all in line signal. It's all in laser grid. It's all in Skynet. It's all in skyline settings. It's all in line position location of balance. But I never leave the center. I never leave the center. I never leave the center. Okay? I never leave the center. You're just expanding the mind. Okay? That changes the vessel into real time, a real space, a modification. Your GODs actually change. You can actually see the realism. You can actually move your hands. You can change your hands. You can change the colorations of your hands. You can see the mechanism of force. You can see the electricity coming from your hands into real time, because you understand the magnetic force. You understand the EMS. You understand how to use your force fields and your energy fields in set position. Right? If I move this way, my Earth is moving this way. You're moving this way, because we're all connected to each other. If I go this way, you're feeling that, because we're all connected to each other. Right? So it's really interesting when you are in position, and as soon as you go outside, which is inside of you, you start to see the sun and the moon, which is a flux capacitor. So wherever you go, everything follows you. Everything follows you in a certain line and a certain communication chronological order. But everything is aligned directions of laser. Laser here to my computer. Laser here to the center operation. Laser here to both sides of communication. So think of it set lines of a laser graph in set position, because it's all levels in your pixelation graphs and communications, your holograms. All right. So when you get into that position of the window frame, set calculations, right? Okay, here's general and center. Just going to do a quick drawing in communications. Good thing I got a perspective drawing. Okay, that's a body frame communication, right? That's me, right? Now, this is how it comes to really aligns the communication, directing here and directing here. Let's start with the antenna, right? Side, side, right? Foregraph communication lines of center, track location of laser, right? Setting lines of spectrum scope as center communication. Okay, now it gets interesting, right? Because you have a foregraph communication. Okay, now it gets really interesting because you can cross-reference now. Okay, because I know what I'm doing, right? I can cross-reference my signals because everything is connected to line signal across location to its awareness. So it's a laser grid that you see in a hologram. Now understand that to change that, you got to do this in line positional processing. That changes all the location grid that opens up its portal of communication in a different direction. So remember how I see through X-ray, and I can actually see my hand, but I go through a plasmasium wall, through another pixelation graph, to another window frame, to another correlation lines of communication setting, to space lines anomaly, see through X-ray. Well, it's about when I touch my hand there, I can see the house, right? So it's black, but I see the setting, right? That's traveling through their pixelation graph. That's traveling to their universe. My hand's going through that transition all through operation, right? So that's X-ray. That's how you see beyond, which is the mind's eye in track location, all through laser, right? Skynet, sky grids, in line position, okay? So this is what your room looks like. This is what your hologram system looks like. This is what your VR system looks like in travel. So everything you see is a laser grid. Everything you see in a hologram is laser grid. but it has waves. Okay? It's really interesting when you reach the levels, when you get into a holographic line screen adaptation to its serpent track location, line set, position locations. So your actual Earth is you, but you are you in the mind. So all you're doing is looking at your holographic setting of your system now through plateaus of holographic settings of travel. Okay, which is laser, which is holographic grid, waves. Waves. See, you're in a tube. It's that position of holographic setting of the city. So all you're doing is traveling. Okay, all you're doing is traveling. Okay, this is laser. Okay, this is a location grid that you go through. Right. This is another location grid that you go through in set position. This is another location grid that you go through in set position, right? This is a position of portal and stargate that you go through and travel in set position. Okay, so you come into that now through the mind's eye. Once you understand that, then you understand what looking at in lines of communication, you see everything through X-ray. X-ray is very powerful stuff because you actually understand the translution. In line setting, it's a translation. All lines of communication is coming into the partnership, how you can take your hand and go right through the TV reception and pull it out and track lines to the other side position. So I can take my hand and travel through all your phones and you'll see my hand. I bring it out in position. Okay? Because we all live in a simulation of VR setting, but it's understand how to set up your Stargate and your portals in that position location to the system, right? All through traction. So it's very powerful once you understand how to identify that and set it. Okay. It's so amazing, guys. I'm telling you right now, understanding your transitions and your platforms, how to travel through them, because it's just a holographic line setting. It's all it is, and all through platform, and all communicates to a system. Everything's a hologram. You live in holographic worlds in your VR system, but you have to stand in that position you're here and set position. All right. Here, 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 and here. Okay. Okay. Holographic. Laser grids, electrical grids, panel grids, side grids, line condition setting, holographic line screens, ceiling grids, holographic line pixelation grids. Okay. It's all formation of center and set position of operation. Okay. So I think we're good on that level in that position location of settings, but basically this is all done through all communications of a cerebro and set design. Okay. How you see everything in settings. It's all about understanding the mechanism locations, how to control your system at all levels of center operation and stay in your own lanes through your waving centrals of your brain waving patterns. Okay. All right. In that line position location, so seeing on Q&A line centers of Commander 6 in travel. Commander 6 in travel. Level C. See you there.